What's poppin', y'all? My name is Phyllis McKenzie, and welcome to Care Life Podcast. If you love the expression of creativity in visual, performing, literary, and culinary arts, then this is the podcast for you. So subscribe and follow our social media pages through the link in the description and be part of the family. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Okay, so this is the 30th episode and also the podcast first year anniversary. I don't even know what is due today, but this is actually going to be an episode of me being ever so grateful to all of you who always tune in each and every week, and to all those who just bear with me when I don't even post anything. I know it can be frustrating sometimes, but at least I'm here, right? At least I'm here. So happy first anniversary on Care Life Podcast. It's been a year. We turn a year on March 16th. When you're listening to this, it's probably already past that. But that's practically a day before St. Patrick's Day. So you can say that this is one of my luckiest moments of my life, having had this podcast and having started it. And even though I gave up on it in the beginning, I'm glad that I went back to it. So, like I said, this is a vote of thanks bonus first episode of my first 1 year anniversary. I'll do this each and every year. That is March 16th. And I'd actually like to thank the following countries. So if you know that you are listening to me from these countries, I thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to tell you a whole lot about absolutely everything, from medical reports that I started with, to astrological facts, to Musical Monday, which you seem to love. I think I should bring it back, and also tuning into each and every episodes that I've had guests. My Christmas special did amazing. This year you're also very supportive. It's been 3 months and I'm grateful for that. So I'll start from the bottom, going all the way to the top. So the following, if you're listening, thank you so much. We're starting off with Uganda, Indonesia, Portugal, Serbia, Mexico, Nigeria, Turkey, Sweden, Netherlands, Mauritius, Australia, down under, Austria, Russia, Philippines, Egypt, India, Ireland, Singapore, South Africa, Germany, Spain, Canada, and my top 3, United Kingdom to be specific, England and Wales. Thank you so much for the people from there. And my home country, Kenya, the national capital, Nairobi. Thank you so much, Asanteni Sana, for always tuning in. And in the United States of America, the following states, be blessed. You are actually 70% of my listeners. So New Mexico, Louisiana, Minnesota, Kentucky, Nebraska, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, Tennessee, District of Columbia, Oklahoma, Nevada, Michigan, Illinois, Massachusetts, Georgia, Maryland, New Jersey, North Carolina and South Carolina, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Florida, New York, Texas, Oregon, Ohio, California, Washington, Virginia, and to be specific, Ashburn, Washington, Gainesville, and Reston. Thank you so much to all of you. You have made an amazing journey out of this Care Life podcast, from social media to Spotify to Apple Podcast, Google Podcast to iHeartRadio, to anywhere you're listening from. And I can't thank you enough, because I started this with only 22 plays a month, so that I gave up on it completely. 22 plays a month. But right now I can confidently say that I'm hitting each month 106, which is okay for a starting podcast, because I have 1,000 plus plays, and my goal for this year is I turn that 1,000 into 4,000 or 5,000. So please help out whenever you can. And for those who this might be their first time coming across Care Life Podcast, welcome to the family, and I hope you tune in each and every week. I am a 19-year-old host. I'm turning 20 this year, and I'm in college currently in my home country, the private university known as Mount Kenya University. I'm majoring in journalism and mass communication, which is actually a dream of mine to become the world's best journalist. And as I say, and as my podcast stands for, I'm here to voice the voiceless. And to be exact, my podcast itself speaks about art, and each episode focuses on theory, human application, and physical expression of creativity in visual arts, including architecture, ceramics, drawing, filmmaking, painting, photography, and sculpting, literary arts, including fiction, drama, poetry, and prose, performing arts, including dance, music, and theater, and culinary arts, including cooking, chocolate making, and wine making. We are available in 8 platforms currently, which is Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, and most recently we've been added to iHeartRadio. So thank you to everybody from iHeartRadio for accepting my podcast. And like I said, I don't know what to say in this episode. It's the 30th episode, and it's the first anniversary episode. So I'm so proud of myself. I can't believe it. It's not every day that you meet a Gen Z podcaster. You'll meet that a whole lot of podcasters are millennials, so they start from 29 all the way up. But I'm turning 20. I'm in my teens still. I have a few months to become 20, and I'm not so psyched about it. I wish I could remain 19 forever, but I can't thank you all enough for making Care Alive what it is today. And I'm pretty sure that in the coming year, like I said, my goal is to turn the 1,000 to 5,000, and I know I can make it there with your help and with my efforts also, plus with God's luck and the universe luck too. I don't know what I'd do without this podcast, because it's not only a podcast to me, it's like a little project, like a baby to me. So seeing every day that this podcast is growing, it's blooming, I'm meeting new people, learning a lot from them. Like I said, I have guests each and every week. I try to have guests, and I try to make the best out of all the interviews I get. I normally have talks before and after with them, and I've built friendships from most of them. I've had guests from around the world. I've had some from the United States, some from the UK, Australia. I'm also making my efforts there. I've just had 3 so far, but I want to go much further. I want to go much further and touch each and every country, because somebody out there might have something to say. So if you're listening to this and maybe you are not, let's say, a professional at anything in arts, but you have something to chip in when it comes to art, or you have something to say about, let's say, climate change or world development, I have a weekend special named as Reverse Gentrification, where I'm trying to make an awareness on global warming, climate change, and how we can actually chip in and hopefully manage to save this planet. So instead of developing cities, we actually conserve the environment and our cultures. That's what I mean by reverse gentrification. So if you're listening to this, you can hit me up. You can DM me at Official Rock on Instagram, Facebook page also, on Twitter it's Official Rock. I'm also on TikTok, as Kiki Rock. You can find me there. The Rock is spelled as ROCQUE. That's Rock. And for the podcast, in all platforms, it's Podcast by Kenzie, from TikTok to Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. I also have a publication. I started a publication, Servane Publication, where you can learn a whole lot about a few more articles I wrote from the guest, and maybe more about global change. It's Servane Publication. The link will be in the description. It's also on Twitter as Official Serve, and on Instagram also you can find me and you can get the link, or maybe talk to me and find the link. I'm open to discuss anything, honestly. It's not that I love finding guests, I just want to voice the voiceless. That's what I'm standing for. So as long as you have a story, maybe you want to publish a book, or maybe just what you heard, I'm here to talk about it. And maybe you're a podcaster and you're listening to this. I love to talk. So we can just merge both the podcast. And I was thinking about actually having a second podcast, but I need a co-host actually, and a remote co-host. So I'm thinking of a few different countries where I can scout a co-host so that we can have a podcast together. And I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, but once I figure it out, or you can also give me ideas and we can talk about it. Like I said, I didn't know what exactly I'm going to say in today's episode, but I had to do it. I had to talk to you all and tell you how grateful I am for this past year. And a lot of people may think that having 1,000 plays is not a lot, but when it comes to podcast, it's actually a whole lot, because unlike Twitter, unlike Instagram, unlike Facebook, and unlike YouTube, it's not by chance that somebody finds your podcast. Podcasts are something that you don't know who this person is, you don't know their face, all you have to show is their voice. And if you don't get somebody to listen to it, and listen exactly, like not just hearing and they are listening to you, paying attention to whatever you're saying, it's hard. And being consistent also is hard, because I'm currently back in school. We're doing our face-to-face learning again, so me having to add the editing schedule back, and also adding the interviews and everything else, plus school, plus whatever projects I'm doing on the side, it's just overwhelming sometimes. So I'm just going to say sorry that I don't upload a whole lot of time like I used to, but I'm trying. I really am. I'm trying to keep up. And I don't think I've told this to a lot of people, only close friends, and when I want to inspire somebody is when I tell them this. But let me just give you a little background story of Care Life Podcast and how it was born. So I started this podcast last year, like I mentioned, on March 16th, 2020, when the pandemic hit my country. And my first episode, Musical Monday, for those who remember, was not actually meant to be on a podcast. I had a radio interview and I had to make a demo. So I created the demo, I sent it out, but once the pandemic hit, they couldn't hire anybody. So that was it. And I remember the week on the 13th to the 16th, I was on Google and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? Because if I lose a whole year to a pandemic, I have to do something. And I write books, for those who know. I haven't finished, I have two, but I haven't finished them yet. Hopefully by the end of this year I'll have finished them so that I can publish them and give them out to the world. But I've been going through writer's block. I couldn't manage to finish the book, and that's something that's haunting me for the past few years. And I thought to myself, okay, since I can't write the book, I'm having a writer's block, and starting a new one, that's just being irresponsible because I haven't finished these other two, and I can't write scripts because I already have 4 scripts pending that needed production, which hopefully you guys will get to see them at the end of the year. Production is now in session. And I thought, what would I do? So I Googled online radio. I actually never knew podcast was a thing, because the first time I heard on podcast is on Henry Danger. For those who remember, there was this episode where they had a podcast called Deep in the Man Cave, and I never knew podcasts were a real thing. I just thought they were all fictional things. So I was like, oh, so the online radio is actually podcasts. And I did my own research and I stumbled upon Anchor, which is a cheaper way to host your podcast. And I remember I uploaded it there, the episode Musical Monday. It didn't do so well. I only had like 3 listens. That was from my mom, from my cousin, from my aunt. And then my mom told me, just don't give up, Phyllis, just continue. And I did 4 more episodes recording from my phone. There were medical episodes on mental health, anxiety, PTSD, dyslexia. I remember doing all that. And that was March and April. And they didn't do so well. In total, I got 20 listens. And you know, once you get that, you're just like, I'm giving up. This is taking so much time. nobody's listening. And mind you, that time I never knew that when it comes to podcast you had to edit the audio, so I just recorded it and uploaded it straight with all the background noise, with all that. So I just deleted the app, I let it be as it was, and I gave up on it, which is something I don't do. This was my first time. When I tell you this is my first time giving up, I mean it. This was my first time giving up, and my mom was shocked because I don't give up. And I remember her asking, why have you given up on it? And I was like, yeah, 20 listens, that's not enough. If I'm only getting 20 listens and it's only for my country, then what difference does that make? So I just thought I'll let it be and I'll find something else to do. And I went for my internship. I went for May, June, July, August, and mid-July, I had the urge to go back into podcasting. I don't know why, but I just felt like it. So on my birthday, 31st of July, I went back. I downloaded the app again and I checked. And to my surprise, the 5 episodes got me 200 listens. And this time I already had USA by my side, and I had a few states from the USA. I had New York at that moment, I had California at that moment, and I had Virginia. So I was like, okay, people are starting to pick up. People are picking up. And I call it my birthday miracle because I don't know how to explain this, but each and every year during my birthday, that week, my luck doubles. I don't know how to say this, but for those who have been close to me, like my closest friends, they know that on my birthday week, I have like a stream of good luck. Like it just doubles. I'm normally a lucky person. I don't know if it has something to do with my angelic number, but I am a lucky person. Each and every time, whatever seems like a bad luck, it always just turns around and then becomes something good. Always. I just have like a big bag of good luck. I normally believe that I swallowed a leprechaun or something. And I know that sounds cheesy and weird, but yeah, that's what happened. And that's the only good thing that the pandemic brought to me, this podcast. And when I saw it was at 200 listens, that's when now I got a much more deep interest when it comes to podcasting. So I decided August, September, and October, I will take that time to learn all about podcasting. What I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do when it comes to editing, all that. And when it comes to equipment, if I'm supposed to buy anything, if I'm not supposed to buy anything. And I did all this research, 3 months research, like in depth. I got to learn what other podcasters do. I started listening to podcasts and learning a bit from them. I'm not perfect at the moment, but at least I'm better off from where I started. And on November, I started doing my own new episodes, and I got my first guest, Chris Tetron Play. I remember he's from the UK. He's an author, a children's book author, and a horror children's book author too. And he was my first guest, and it went so well. I tell you, it went so well, and that was my first ever guest, and I was so nervous. I remember I was just sweating, and it was on Skype, and I was just hyperventilating, and I even told him I'm nervous about this. And that was also his first episode as a guest, because he also had a new podcast, and it got a lot of listens. It got 100 listens from that, and it boosted from 200 to 300, and I was like, okay. And then I just went on. I planned more episodes, and then I was like, Mom, by the end of this year, this is what I told my mom on November. Mind you, this was mid-November. I told her, give me November, December. By the New Year's, my podcast will be at 500 listens. But to my surprise, only in November, it got me to 500, and my mom was so happy. I remember her face beaming, because she's actually my best friend of everybody, and she takes a whole lot of effort to understand whatever I do. My dad, he's not even a millennial. He's like mid-millennial, mid-boomer, so he does not understand a whole lot about podcast. But my mom, she's a pure millennial, so she understands a whole lot about podcast. And she was so proud of me, and getting that support from a family member is so great. And I decided, hey, how about I have a Christmas episode, which you guys remember I had 12 days of Christmas, so psyched about it. And I was planning to have 12 guests, but I ended up having 10 because one was a parent, the other had projects, so we had to cancel for one and postpone for the other. And when I tell you that New Year's, I was already at 1K. I still don't believe it till today. 2 months moved me from 200 to 1K. And I was so happy on New Year's because I came from my aunt's place. We are having Christmas over at my aunt's as always. And my cousins were so proud of me. They never knew I had a podcast and they were listening to it. And then they were like, oh, so now these days you're Kenzie Rock. And that's what they're going for. And when I hit 1K, I was so happy. I was in tears that morning because I just did not imagine that 2 months, that is 8 weeks, only close to only, was it 15 episodes that got me to 1K. And that pushed me. It pushed me to the level that I said, this year I'm making a plan. This year I'm having a bulletproof plan that if I produce this amount of episodes on these specific times and make sure that the listens don't go below this, I'll hit my target. So this year, like I said, my target is 4,000. I want to move this 1K to 4,000 by December 31st, so that when I hit the New Year's of 2022, I'm at 4,000. And I hope that you guys will make that happen because I don't know. That's my only wish. And I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm proud of myself. 19 with a very good podcast and making change in somebody's life out there. And by the time I graduate with my degree in journalism, I'll continue this. This is not something that will end. Carol Life podcast will live forever. I'll die and I'll make sure that this podcast will have someone who will go on with it, be it my kids, be it a friend, be it a colleague. But I want Carol Life podcast to be here forever, for it to make a change on this planet one way or another. You'd have to touch a person's life, and in turn it will start a chain of reaction. But I don't know. That's probably it for today because this is my last episode this week. But I have an announcement to make, and I hope you guys will pay attention to this. This weekend, from the 20th all the way to the 30th, is Sign Quest Film Festival. You can buy your tickets there. You watch several movies from several producers and several directors and writers. Quite recently, I have interviewed Nicholas Woods. You can find him on Instagram, nicholaswoods.co. He is a producer and director. His film, Echoes of Violence, will be on SignQuest. I also have 2 more directors that will be popping up in next week. Please check them out because it's very great that you just watch their films. It's buy tickets, go watch them, support. Find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter, find me on TikTok also. Please follow us on TikTok. Podcast by Kenzie and Kiki Rock. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to boost myself on TikTok. I don't understand that platform. But anyways, this will be it. I don't even have much to say today, but happy 1 anniversary to me and Carol Life Podcast, and also to you for being part of the family. Please stay safe, stay Gucci, spread out the positivity, spread out the love, and remember that we are all in this together. We are a family as Carol Life Podcast fam, and you can use the hashtag Carol Life Podcast or hashtag Felicity or hashtag PodRock. This is a way for me to find you. And if you want to talk about climate change and a way to help our planet and community one way or another, use the hashtag reverse gentrification. This is another way I can find you. Please check out previous episodes and keep tuned. Subscribe, please, on whatever platform you're listening so that you keep up with whatever I'm doing. And also leave a review. Reviews help me. They help me a lot. You can just say whatever you like, whatever you don't like about the podcast, what you wish I could add, what you wish I could change. I take comments very positively and criticism very positively because in the long run they help. I'm also starting a YouTube channel personally, Phyllis Mackenzie. You can just go on Google and search that, Phyllis Mackenzie channel. I'll be the first. Subscribe on there. And Kerala podcast channel also. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Goodbye, everybody. And that will be it for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcasting app, especially Apple Podcasts, and share it with all your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, creativity is intelligence having fun. Until next time, #PodRock.